Santa, please bring the Titans a left tackle. I'll talk about that and the rest of my Tennessee Titans Christmas wish list on today's bonus Christmas edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Ho, ho, ho!
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Christmas edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's bonus Christmas edition is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We got a lot to discuss on this Christmas bonus edition. Number one, Santa, I need a top 5 pick and a new left tackle for the Tennessee Titans. We're going to go over that. Then I'm going to look into free agency where Santa Claus needs to come through big for the Titans. And then finally, I'll talk about some young players I would like to see in the NFL draft at certain positions. Before we get into all of that, thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, doesn't matter. Hope you're having a fantastic week and a fantastic end to your year. Again, get subscribed, stay subscribed. I'm breaking down the Titans Monday through Friday, every single week, all year long, and always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Throw a thumbs up on the video as well and show some Christmas spirit. But with that being said, Santa, the big man upstairs, I'm showing you love. I'm representing. Please, my guy, bring the Tennessee Titans a new left tackle. Please, please. I saw some stats on Twitter, Titan stats, PBK. You guys know who you are out there. I want to give credit, but I don't remember everything. But Andre Dillard is still second in the NFL in most sacks allowed. He hasn't played since like week 10. It's week 16. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And now, Jalen Duncan is 13th in the NFL in sacks allowed. He's barely played this year. He's barely played. We dealt with Dennis Daly leading the league in sacks last year. The year before, or he might have been one behind Jonah Williams. And then the year before that, we dealt with different combinations of Kendall Lamb and David Glastonbury, blah, 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 and all these different things. And even at the end of Taylor Lewan, Taylor Lewan's one of the most underappreciated Titans in the history of the franchise. But even at the end, when he couldn't stay healthy, the left tackle play wasn't very good either, with Taylor Lewan off a bum knee that wasn't repaired correctly. At least that's what Taylor Lewan is accusing, not up to date on the status of how that all played out. Don't really care now. But anyways, the point is, we have seen for multiple years now, basically since 2020, we have seen despicable offensive tackle play. I talk about the left tackle spot because that's a quarterback's blind spot, and I care more about that. But regardless, I mean, again, going back to Dennis Kelly in 2020, since then, Quessenberry, NPF, Radens. I mean, Chris Hubbard gave us a brief reprieve from terrible offensive tackle play. And Chris Hubbard is a guy who hadn't started in 3 years and got picked up off the scrap heap 2 weeks before camp. So I am begging you, Santa. I am here on my knees pleading. All right? I've been nice. I've tried to be nice, Santa. All right? And the Titans have been on the naughty list for 20 out of the 25 years that I've liked this team. I'm begging you. I'm pleading. All right? Let the Titans lose the rest of their games. Let the teams that are set to pick ahead of them win a game. Or let the teams on the Titans schedule lose so their strength of schedule goes down. Whatever it takes, if it takes all of it, it takes a little bit, please, Santa, please. I'm begging Santa Claus and Ranta Claus. Please, Ran, find a way. Make it happen. Do what you have to do to get this team a left tackle, because we have seen over the last few years that you just simply cannot have a successful offense when your offensive line is this bad. You can't. You can't. You can't. All right. And people point to different things. There are trade-offs. Yeah, look at the Bengals model. I would be willing to give it a shot. But was the Bengals offensive line as bad as this offensive line? You know, there are levels to this. There are levels. All right. And this state of this offensive line, oh, man, it's just hard to watch. It's hard to deal with, and it's hard to evaluate players. Like, it's hard to know just how good Will Levis could actually be, because we don't know, because he's under constant pressure and he's getting sacked, and the decisions that he makes and the way his throws look. Like, some of these people come in my comments and tear down Will Levis after he's literally getting hit and his arm flutters and it makes the ball go up and it gets picked. Like, you're going to blame Will Levis for a bad throw there when he's clearly getting hit as he's throwing the ball and it clearly affected the trajectory of the ball? Like, we are never going to know good offensive football without a good left tackle. So whether it be Joe Alt, Olaf Fashanu, whether you get somebody in free agency that makes sense, we don't know everyone that's going to be available right now. I would like to see the Titans do both of those things, if I'm honest. But no matter what, all I really want is to line up to play football next season and know that the Titans have a starting left tackle that we can count on. I don't need them to be the best left tackle in the NFL. Just don't be the worst, right? Just don't be the worst. Because if Jalen Duncan played all season, he'd be the worst offensive tackle in the league. If Andre Dillard played half a season, and he's the worst offensive tackle in the league. So at this point, again, I'm pleading to the big man upstairs, Santa Claus at the North Pole. I'm begging you, Santa. Please bring this team a left tackle, because the woes that we have experienced over the last few years with the position, it's taken a toll on all of us, okay? So in the name of Christmas spirit, in the name of decency, in the name of justice and peace, I beg you, Santa Claus, I beg you, please bring the Titans a left tackle. I've said I want it to be Alt. Joe Alt is my number one option. I would take Olaf Fashanu in a second, though. I think the guy's going to be great. But even if it's not them, the second round offensive tackle that we pick, the free agent offensive tackles that the Titans pick up, just please let one of them work. Just please let something work. I can't take another year watching the worst left tackle in the NFL, regardless of who it is, and watching another year Will Levis get bent like a pretzel. I'm begging you, Santa. Have some mercy on us all. All right. With that being said, we got to talk free agency, because I got a real wish list there. Let me know what you want from Santa Claus for the Tennessee Titans down below before we get into my free agency wish list, though. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. Look, if you've bought tickets on any other app, you know the deal wasn't as good as they said it was. They didn't show you the real price. You click on it, you go, oh, wow, each ticket is $60 more than they said it was going to be. They don't show you a proper view. You get there, you sit down, the view isn't really what they said it was. Listen, you're not going to have to worry about any of that with Game Time. Game Time has killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You get an accurate view from your seat. You get a best price guarantee. Game Time literally takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I bought multiple tickets on Game Time personally. I love the app. It's easy to use, and all the stuff I just told you about. Legit, guys, all-in prices, accurate view from your seat, good deals. I mean, you're not going to find that anywhere else, period. Make sure that you go to Game Time right now and check out their Game Time guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. I mean, they're putting their money where their mouth is here. Make sure that you download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. fans, let's continue this Christmas bonus edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy End of the Year, whatever it is you believe or don't believe, I don't care. I hope you're having a great day. We talked about what I really want from Santa Claus for the Titans, and that's a left tackle. And honestly, I don't care whether it's free agency, I don't care whether it's the draft, first round, second round, doesn't matter to me. The Titans need a left tackle, but that's not all that they need. And forgive me, but my wish list is a little bit longer than just one thing. So I want to dive into what I want in free agency. And again, this is a quick overview. I'm going to dive into additional names, full breakdowns on certain positions, go through high option, mid option, low option, all that stuff as we get into the offseason. So don't worry about that. But again, it's a Christmas bonus episode, just a quick rundown of some things I'm thinking. So number one, I need the Titans to go get a free agent wide receiver. Last year, the free agent wide receiver class was not good. No doubt about it. Very poor class. Not a lot of high-end talent. Not a lot of good options there. And it looked like everybody was going to get overpaid, and a lot of them did. But you look at this year's class. And yes, some of these players could get franchise tagged. Some of these players could just re-sign deals with their team. But there are going to be a lot of players who are cap casualties. There are going to be a lot of players who we don't expect to be available that will be. So just keep an open mind here. This is what we know as of right now. For me, the number one option at wide receiver is clearly Tee Higgins. It's no doubt about it for me. It's a slam dunk. He's number one. Is Tee Higgins the route runner and the separator maybe that like a Brandon Ayuk is? No, he's not. But he's a big, physical, contested catch marvel. All right? And he isn't a huge yards after catch guy, but you see him take that slant for 80 yards to the house on Saturday? Because I did. All right, Tee Higgins is an athlete, okay? He's not a combat boot guy who can just go up and jump over people. He's not Mike Williams. He's better than that, okay? So, and Tee Higgins is from Tennessee. Multiple pictures of him standing in front of number 5 Tee Higgins jerseys from him growing up as a kid. It was written. It was written in the stars. Tee Higgins to the Titans. Number one target in free agency, period. Period. Okay? But after that, there are some great options. Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman. Some great options there. All right? Some people want to throw Hollywood Brown in there. I don't want Hollywood Brown. Give me a break. Again, conversation for a different time. But you get Tee Higgins. If you can't, then go get Mike Evans. I know Mike Evans is 31, but he's still a freaking baller. He's got 1,000 yards every single year. He's playing some of his best football. DeAndre Hopkins broke the curse. If you had Hopkins and Mike Evans lining up for Will Levis next year, who's complaining about that? Who? Who are you? You're on the naughty list, okay? But moving right along, if it can't be Higgins and it can't be Evans, then I'm still down with Calvin Ridley. Now, Ridley is older than I thought. He's like 29 years old. But Mike Evans is 31. Ridley is one of the best route runners in the NFL. You want to talk about separation? You want to talk about creating separation? Calvin Ridley is the guy. He is absolutely a top-tier route runner, great speed. And look, he missed a couple years of football, or a year and a half with injury and then the gambling suspension. He's just getting back into things this year. So, no, he didn't break onto the scene and have Jamar Chase numbers. He's getting back into the swing of things, but he's still been good. So, I would be fine with stealing Calvin Ridley from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm cool with that. Higgins, Evans, Ridley. Then for me, Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman may not be the fastest guy ever, but again, like we just talked about, having a big-bodied guy who can go up and win jump balls when you have Will Levis who just wants to throw up jump balls down the field, that is the combination. It reminds me of Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans from Texas A&M. Like, Manziel looked so good because he could just, whoop, Mike's down there somewhere, F it. Will Levis needs that guy. And right now, DeAndre Hopkins is that guy, and Hopkins can do that a little bit. But Hopkins isn't as big as Evans or Higgins or Pittman. Like, he's just not, all right? So, I want one of those guys, even if they aren't the greatest speed demon of all time. Speed can be addressed elsewhere. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show when I talk about my draft wish list. But outside of wide receivers, and if the Titans, and look, Brandon Ayuk is under contract, people. Everyone's mentioning Brandon Ayuk like he's a free agent. He's not. He's not a free agent. The Titans would have to trade for him. So, yeah, I love Brandon Ayuk too. Awesome. But that would require a trade, not just free agency. All right. So keep that in mind. I'd much rather have Tee Higgins in free agency than pay draft picks and then on top of that, give a big deal to Brandon Ayuk. Who would you want? Tee Higgins in free agency or trading for Brandon Ayuk? If you had to give him the same contract, and we talk contract, probably going to be $25 million per year. So just keep that in mind. But I also want to see a couple offensive linemen in free agency here. Okay? One offensive tackle to be a starter for sure, whether it be right or left. Don't care. That's why I like Trent Brown. He's played 3,000 snaps at both. Well, 2,700 and 3,000 the other one. Anyways, moving right along. But I don't want to just see an offensive tackle in free agency. I want an interior offensive lineman in free agency brought in. They don't have to break the bank. Maybe they don't go get Connor Williams, but you got to bring in somebody who can compete with Aaron Brewer. Now, Aaron Brewer is a free agent, and maybe you guys think Aaron Brewer won't come back. But I think that Aaron Brewer is not going to have a ton of options out there, and he's going to come back to the Titans on a cheap deal, and the Titans have to also bring in another interior offensive line veteran to compete there. You cannot go into next season with Aaron Brewer written in pen as your starting center. No. So, outside of offensive line, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, one of the top tier wide receivers. Outside of that, you look at cornerback. Now, I'm just going to be honest. There are options out there at cornerback. There really are. I know a lot of you guys are going to start saying Jalen Johnson to me. But if the Titans get a high-end wide receiver and the Titans get a high-end offensive tackle and they get somebody to compete on the interior offensive line and they add some depth at other positions, it's going to be hard to give 3 big-time contracts, even with the $75 to $100 million in cap space the Titans are going to have. So for me, if you look at those 3 positions, wide receiver, offensive tackle, and cornerback, I would rather see the money spent at wide receiver and offensive tackle. Make that better. Look for cornerback in the draft. Look to sign some value cornerbacks like you did with Sean Murphy-Bunting last year, which Sean Murphy-Bunting hasn't been perfect, but he's been solid. So I'd rather see that route. I don't really want to see a high price contract given to a cornerback. I just don't want to go that route. I would rather put the resources elsewhere, put the money into the pass rush, and then try to add cornerbacks and see what they do in the draft, in mid-tier free agency. If I had to choose a route, that's what I would do there. So free agency wish list, top-end wide receiver, 2 offensive linemen, some value cornerbacks in the secondary, and let's see what we could shake from there. All right? But with that being said, we got to talk about the draft, because outside of the top-tier positions that we've all discussed, I want to talk about some depth positions I want to see the Titans add in the draft. They have 8 picks, so definitely the ability to do it. We're going to dive into that in a second. Before we do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates to interview as possible. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board, okay? LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, it's quick, and it's easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Titans fans, we are going to go into my NFL draft Christmas wish list for the Titans. Again, follow along with me. Let me know, what is your number one wish from Santa Claus for the Titans? Who are you looking for in free agency? What do you want at depth positions in the draft? Put together your Titans Christmas wish list down below. But I want to hit a few housekeeping items. Let's call them. Number one, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On, plus national shows like Locked On NFL, which I do on Thursdays. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel. Be a part of history. Look behind the curtain. I'm recording this on Christmas Eve morning before the Titans play against the Seattle Seahawks because I'm going to be traveling all day on Christmas. Another funny thing, this was meant to be a 10-minute bonus episode, and I talk too much. And now it's a full-length episode. So there you go. Congratulations on that. Wanted to at least have a chuckle. I just cannot shut up, y'all. I promise I try. The plan is to not talk so long, and here I am with a full-length 25-minute episode. But did want to mention, since I won't have time to talk about it, I'll be talking about the game. I'll probably mention it on yesterday's show. Everydayers, you saw yesterday after the game. But Jeffrey Simmons, IR. Jack Gibbons, IR. Amani Hooker, IR. Nick Westbrook-Akine on IR. The Titans are just falling apart, and I think part of it is purposeful. They're like, hey, some of our veteran guys, no reason to bring them back. And I'm glad they didn't play Will Levis, because that would have been stupid. Hopefully he doesn't play the rest of the two games. But either way, things are going well. I hope that I'm coming to you after the Titans lost to the Seattle Seahawks. That would be awesome. Okay. Titans need that top 5 pick. And I think they know it now too. But anyways, we talked about my number one wish, a left tackle, which would really be a top 5 pick. We talked about my free agency wish list at the top positions that I care about. And now I want to talk about the draft. And look, yes, with the top 2 picks the Titans have, I want to see them take a wide receiver and an offensive tackle. This is a really good offensive tackle class. It's a really good wide receiver class. Whether you go Malik Neighbors or Alt or Fashanu or J.C. Latham or whatever in the first round, do the opposite in the second with a Xavier Worthy, a Xavier Leggett, a Brian Thomas. There are so many good wide receivers and offensive tackles in the early parts of this draft that there is no excuse for the Titans to not get one of the top 6 offensive tackles, one of the top 6 wide receivers. And that's why it's so important to have a top 5 pick, not only for the first round, but for every other round after that, like the second round, where it's so important to have a high pick. So, outside of those 2 positions, in the first 2 picks, Titans don't have a third rounder. So after that, I really would like to see a couple of things. Number one, a young interior offensive lineman. So whether Daniel Brunskill is back at right guard, whether the Titans go with Dylan Radins or Nicholas Petit-Ferrer at right guard, either way, the Titans need to look for a replacement there. Also, that young interior offensive lineman could potentially be a center. You bring Aaron Brewer back for a cheap veteran deal. You draft a center to develop to take his place. I want a young interior offensive lineman in the draft. Period. Outside of that, remember, we're talking the end of the draft here. We know we want offensive tackle and wide receiver. Outside of that, I would like young players in the secondary. Get a young corner in the mid-rounds. Get a safety late who could potentially come in and be a special teams guy, but also develop. The Titans tried to do that with Theo Jackson from Tennessee, and he went to Minnesota and actually turned into a pretty decent little player. That's the type of thing I want to see the Titans do, okay? But also, it's time to get some linebackers with speed, okay? Look, I'm cool with bringing Jack Gibbons back next year in a depth role. Not a big fan of Aziz, but if they bring him back, whatever. I'm not going to fret. But the Titans need, they let Monty Rice go. They need to replace the Monty Rice role. A young, fast, physical linebacker maybe Ranta Claus has had a ton of success in the past with drafting late round linebackers. Go to the well again, please. Go get one. They drafted all offense last year. They can't do that this year. I want to see some young depth on defense added to this team at linebacker and in the secondary. Okay? So you get your OT, you get your wide receiver, you get your interior offensive lineman, then go defense. Add some prospects with speed and athleticism and see if we can't make this team faster. You know what I mean? And those late round draft picks, that is where Rand should succeed. He had a lot of input in San Francisco in the late rounds of the draft. So work your magic, Rand. Let's go, Santa Claus. I love that. I made that up. All right. I made that up on the spot here on the show. There are going to be other people saying that now that I put it out into the universe. Don't let them steal it. It's mine, Santa Claus. Let's go. All right. With that being said, that's going to do it for this bonus and now fully extended, full-length edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. It's Christmas. Some of you guys will be listening to this on the morning of the 26th, too, though. Hope you had a good Christmas. Happy holidays. Salute. Good end to the year in days of old lang syne. All right? So, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Tighten up. Help us out here, Santa. We need it. But with that being said, I'm, of course, going to be back with you guys tomorrow. Talk more about this game, what the Titans need to do going forward. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.